to the faithful at 9 a.m. I'm going to try something this morning, and I want to ask that you guys do it with me. Are you ready? Developers, 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 developers. This is my Steve Ballmer moment. All right, just checking who's awake. Good morning, everyone. Hello. My name's Kevin Owocki. I am a co-founder of Gitcoin, and I'm obsessed with developers because we help them get coins in exchange for software development tasks. I'm a co-organizer of the BUIDL blockchain with Michael Green, who I'm going to embarrass the crap out of right now. Michael, wave to the people. Yes. And I wouldn't be here without the guiding hand of Joe Lubin and Consensus, which has funded Gitcoin since 2017. So, Joe, if you're listening, thanks for funding Gitcoin. Today, during my talk, I will be giving away the keyboard that I used to build the MVP of Gitcoin. This is it. So you guys showed up at 9 a.m. and you're all in the running. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. If we run out of keyboards. There's a quote from Obi-Wan Kenobi that I put up here that I just think is cool. This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster, an elegant weapon for a more civilized age. Just like a pocket protector. Thank you. All right, so I tweeted this out maybe 2 weeks ago. There's this seminal work in early open source software called The Cathedral and the Bazaar. And show of hands, has anyone read The Cathedral and the Bazaar? Cool, about the same results as my Twitter poll, maybe a third of us. And I was really surprised by those results because I think that there's just this rich history of open source software and how we broke away from the old ways that software was built in order to create open source and communicate asynchronously with thousands of developers across the world. And it really triggers me that people haven't read these seminal pieces of history with computers, ethics, and society. So next time you get outraged by something with crypto tribalism on Twitter, I'd encourage you to be as triggered as I am when people don't know their history of open source and why it matters. And so this talk is actually going to be about the Cathedral and the Bazaar and how I think it could maybe be updated in the Web3 era. So basically the Cathedral is a model of software development where you've got a team of intimate wizards that are building painstakingly a arena with a stage and crafting every single nook and cranny among a high trust team. That's the Cathedral model of software development. You've seen it in large organizations. You've seen it with GNU. Richard Stallman's a benefactor of the Cathedral type of model. But there was a new model that came around in the 1990s called the Bazaar. And the Bazaar is kind of like the hustle and bustle, if you've ever been to a street fair, of the aggregation of all of the different people that are organically working on whatever they're working on. It's conflicting agendas, and it's different egos butting heads with each other. And so Linus basically built an open source version of Unix and called it Linux. And has anyone ever used Linux? I'm just doing a pulse check on the audience at this point. I mean, it's 9 a.m. So everyone's pulse, all right, everyone's alive, great. So basically, Linux is one of the most used operating systems in the world, but arguably Linus's contribution to open source software was more the development model of Linux, where he delegated everything to the point of promiscuity, released early and often, and treated his developers as his users as co-developers of the product. So a radically different way of building software that's more open and transparent and more resembles a bazaar as opposed to a cathedral. So I want to go through, there's like 15 principles of the cathedral and bazaar for best practices for building software. I'm going to tell you about 7 of them. And the first one is that every good work of software starts by scratching a developer's personal itch. I should tell you about where the ambition to build a great open source repository comes from, and it's one that resonates with me because As a developer, I want to work for the open internet. That's why I built Gitcoin. That's the itch I'm scratching. The second principle is to release early, release often, and listen to your customers. So I was born in the 80s when my first software that I installed on my PC was on a CD-ROM or on a floppy drive. And so, we sort of take for granted that you release early and often in the internet age when it's easy to meet and to reach your users. But it wasn't always so. There used to be 6-month development cycles on major software projects, and that was the norm. So Linux really was foundational here in changing the way we do software. The third one is to plan to throw one version away, because you will anyhow. So basically, the way I interpret this is to build something that doesn't actually make it into production, but I learn something when I'm building that feature. Given a large enough beta tester and co-developer base, almost every problem will be characterized quickly and the fix obvious to someone. So this is kind of you guys may have heard that if a software is distributed wide enough, then all bugs are shallow. So given enough eyes, all bugs are shallow. And I think that it's really neat having worked on Gitcoin, where we've had hundreds, I think it's somewhere in the mid-hundreds worth of software developers that have co-created Gitcoin with us. If you have the right attitude, interesting problems will find you. This is my most Colorado-ism of a cathedral and bazaar principle. Shill Colorado, praise be Colorado. If you treat your beta testers as your most valuable resource, they will respond by becoming your most valuable resource. So a self-fulfilling prophecy about what you expect out of your users and your standards for them becoming a co-developer of your product, not just a user of your product. The most striking and innovative solutions come from realizing that your concept of the problem was wrong. So if you're thinking about a flat networked model, you're more free to iterate towards different vantage points of the problem, as opposed to your manager, someone who's far away from the problem, evolving what you're building. And then to solve an interesting problem, start by finding a problem that is interesting to you. So in the Venn diagram of problems that are worth solving and problems that are interesting to you, you want to find something in the middle there. It's worked pretty well for me. I can't read the cathedral and the bazaar for you, but I can tell you that it'd be pretty cool if I could. I could make it into a meme and put it on Twitter maybe. But I think that this is a seminal piece of open source history, and if you're building software for a living, I'd love to have you read it and then tell me what you think about it. But what I really want to get to this morning is how I think Web3 extends the bazaar. So basically, you've got software. We're building an open source financial system, and the development model actually resembles the bazaar style development model. And we're designing these communities that we can augment with incentivization mechanics. And just starting from talking about the bazaar and extending it with incentivization mechanics, I think gets us further ahead than trying to think about the cathedrals of days past in software development organizations that we're building in the cathedral style. So designing the bazaar is what the remainder of my talk is, in addition to giving away the keyboard that I built Gitcoin with. Yes, just to keep you engaged. There's a prize on the line. Open source is our mission at Gitcoin is to grow and sustain open source software. So that means release of the source code, royalty-free redistribution of the program. Man, there's a lot of syllables in those words, and I was out late last night. Royalty-free redistribution of the program, and modifications retain the original software license. So that's the rule set for open source software, and open source software creates billions of dollars of value in the world. Our mission is to allow developers to capture some of that value. Open source is a bazaar. It's a bazaar, and we're trying to build incentivization mechanics to allow people to capture that value. So the software engineer in me likes to think about this in terms of incentive gradients. Has anyone ever built an AI bot that climbs a hill? Anything like that? You guys are blockchain developers. Dano, thank you. There you go. So there's this thing called heuristic maximization, where you can basically define how good a given situation is for an agent and then you can program that agent to climb the heuristic so that it creates better circumstances for itself and its world, whatever the heuristic is. And so I like to think of the bazaar as, like I said, it's competing agendas. It's competing local maximas that people are trying to climb, and they're butting heads and maybe producing great software together. And so if you think about the bazaar as competing incentives, you're going to have sometimes where the heuristic for one agent tells them to climb a hill, and then another agent tells them that they should be going in a different direction. But when you're thinking about programming incentives, the really exciting thing is aligning these mesh networks, these local maxima of incentive to create sort of a Schelling point where agents are all climbing the same hill. So I like to think that with Ethereum, with the technology that creates economic incentives to do whatever, to post a bounty, to get a return on compound, that we're designing new incentives into the bazaar, which is the extension of the bazaar, I think, for the Web3 era, which is really exciting for me because I think that there are different sort of landscapes of heuristics that people are climbing. And we're obviously focused on the open source landscape, but a lot of people out there are stuck in closed source. Bless you. I want to find a way to align the incentives such that people are building a little bit more out in the open and they're getting rewarded for the work that they're doing in open source software with their economic output. So that's one way that I think about programming incentives for the Web3 world, and aligning incentives between different things that we're building. Another way to think about building incentives into our software and into our bazaar communities is thinking about who we're optimizing for. So in capitalism, we optimize for the heuristic of ourselves, of our bank accounts and our financial security. But if you actually think about that incentive system and you extend it to also include in your incentive models, are you building things that are good for future you? And are you building things that are good for us, the whole? This talk is about public goods in a lot of ways because we're building incentive systems to create a better whole in addition to creating better individual circumstances. So you can go through a lot of different use cases, things that people do in the world, where they're basically trading, they're arbitraging different parts of this bento box for each other. So if you're taking a drag of smoke, then you're maybe getting a little bit of a bonus, a little bit of high for now me, but it's at the expense of health of super me. Should have taken a look at this last night when I was out drinking with the Gitcoin team. Using open source software is actually a really interesting case because we are standing on the shoulders of giants. We have open source web servers, we have open source database servers, and every time you use it, there's an incremental cost of production that the maintainer has to fix your bug reports or help you, I don't know, buy food from the food truck that you can't get the open source software to work on. Just a hypothetical example. Nikki Case had this really amazing talk about how to build coordination systems such that communities evolve high trust with each other. So creating repeat interactions creates more trust because you know that you're going to see someone again. It's not like when you flick someone off in traffic and you're like, oh, I'll never see that asshole again. Repeat interactions are important. Possible win-wins, so coming out and the sum being better than the whole of its part. And then low miscommunication. So if we're not talking past each other, then we can build more trust and we can build better coordination. And it's sort of these principles that we've been applying at Gitcoin to grow open source software to create an economic graph where different people in our community are transacting with each other peer-to-peer. So we're building a bazaar that's augmented by incentivization mechanics at Gitcoin. This is our economic graph. Every node is a user on Gitcoin and every edge is a transaction that they've done in between each other. And it's I'm pretty proud that it's very peer-to-peer looking. It's not very top-down. There's not a lot of centralized intermediaries. We're doing $300K a month to open source software developers, so starting to make an impact on our mission. Woohoo! And starting to really think about the KPI of how many people can just work for the open internet. There's this idea of the quadratic freelancer, someone who can just work for the open internet funded by quadratic subsidies. Gitcoin Grants is one of our products that creates a lot of funding for software developers. And my dream is to just work for the open internet, to not have a boss. And that's the itch that I'm scratching when I build Gitcoin. And hopefully at ETHDenver 2021, there will be dozens of quadratic freelancers in the audience. All right, so without belaboring the point, this is my Jedi weapon. And I thought long and hard last night about who to give this to. And I felt like the only fair way to give out this keyboard is by looking at the Gitcoin leaderboard of what hackers have earned the most ETH on Gitcoin. So Paul, I can't pronounce Paul's last name. Paul, if you're here, then you're number one. Austin Griffith is in the audience over here, and he is number 2. I hope these numbers are right, Austin, and I'm not doxing you. These numbers are close, let's just say. And so, Paul, if you're here, going once, going twice. All right, the keyboard that I built Gitcoin with goes to Austin Griffith, the first quadratic freelancer. Here you go. Bless you. Bless you. Yes. Rockstar, yeah. And then 5 minutes, cool. And so I've gone ergonomic, and once you go ergo, you never go back. And so I can't use that keyboard anymore. Anyway, it is clicky-clacky. We'll talk about switches later after the talk if anyone wants to. And then further down the leaderboard is Rick Burton, who gets the consolation prize of the mouse that I used to build Gitcoin. Woo! Look at that unicorn horn. There's so many unicorns in the audience today. All right, so announcement time. As I do on Twitter every once in a while, I like to wrap up some of our content in a trolley post. And so I made an announcement that I was going to make an announcement at ETHDenver, which I think, like, in the bull market was the douchiest thing that you could do. Justin Sun, I'm talking about you. And then I made an announcement that I was going to make an announcement. And then I made an announcement, which is like, I think, announcement inception. Like, if you get further enough into your own delusion, then you become Justin Sun, and you'll never wake up from it. Did I just say that out loud? So the announcement that I want to tell you guys about with my 3 minutes left, Kartik, is the launch of... Oh, wait. Just kidding. It's the launch of... GitConnect! That meme was so good. I wish that guy... I don't know. I'm announcing the launch of Gitcoin Satoshi's vision. Craig Wright. Please put me out of my misery once we go cross-chain with Bitcoin SV. All right, so the announcement is that we're doubling down on CLR. So you may have heard of Gitcoin because we're giving out $200K per quarter to quadratic freelancers, to people who are participating in public goods in the Ethereum ecosystem. And it's really a really effective way to incentivize people doing great work together. And we're doubling down on CLR by running more rounds for more money more often. And the specific tangible thing that I want to tell you guys about today is that we're launching mini CLR, which is basically, we take a 10% fee on the Gitcoin network for bounties, and we make about $1,000 a month doing that. Well, we've decided to reinvest that money in our community to incentivize helpful behavior on the Gitcoin user base. So basically, with the weekly matching, which happens all the time, we can play with different CLR mechanics that are a little bit less high stakes than the regular Gitcoin CLR. We can incentivize people to send 0.01 ETH tips to each other just for helping each other out and earning tens or hundreds of dollars of matching. So if you go to the Gitcoin homepage now, you're going to see this news feed that basically gives you all the activity on the Gitcoin network, and you can see where this $400 distribution is going. So you can see that basically this user, Ryan Storms, got 9 contributions worth $131, and they're going to earn $24 in CLR matching through the mini CLR. So my sort of big hope is that we're taking what we've learned about public goods and we're building it into Gitcoin such that Gitcoin is a place where you can earn money just by being helpful to others, creating value and then capturing value. And this isn't entirely unselfish of me because as the BDFL of Gitcoin, who's going on parental leave for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I am not going to be here to solve all your problems. So if you have a kudos that you can't redeem, if you have a tip and you can't figure out how to use it, and if you have a problem on Gitcoin's network, I'm not going to be here because I'm going on parental leave over the next few weeks. So if y'all want to help each other out on Gitcoin and rally around each other, then that would be fucking great, because that means I don't have to answer your support request when you come back. So public goods are good. Read the Cathedral and the Bazaar. And Austin, you better build something fucking awesome with that keyboard. Thank you.